The number one question we have right now is how much we can get to that garden suite. 60 amps is not going to be adequate, but I'll tell you right now, we're going to need at least 1 inch. So what do you want to talk about first? So everything else here looks nice. A couple of years ago, we recorded a video where we did an on-site consultation for our client Curtis, who was planning on converting his detached 2-car garage to a 1-bedroom garden suite ADU. During this process, we went through the entire property and looked at all the considerations for this conversion. Lately, we've been getting a lot of questions around setting up the services for a garden suite, namely the plumbing, electrical, and HVAC system. So we figured it might be a good idea to revisit this with us reviewing the existing systems of the property and what prep work is needed when building a new garden suite or converting a garage. So we took a clip from this video just inside the house going over the services. If you would like to watch the full video instead, you can check it out in the link below. Curtis, let's have a look at some of the systems that we need to be aware of for the additional garden suite, the garage conversion. So we have 2 units in the existing house, right? So there's going to be certain requirements for the existing 2 units, and then we have this garage conversion at the back that's going to be probably a 1-bedroom garden suite. And we're going to have to make sure we have enough electrical capacity, we have enough water. So we're in the furnace room right now of the existing house, and we're going to try to figure this out. So what do you want to talk about first? Want to talk about electrical first? Sounds good. All right. Okay, so here's the electrical panel. So the first thing I'm looking at here, the main switch, this is a 200 amp service, so that's great news. Okay. Now we should be able to get at least 60 amps to that garage back there, which is going to be sufficient for the electrical consumption, as long as we don't have an electric heating system. Okay. All right. If we decide that we want to have an electric heating system, such as a heat pump system or electrical baseboards or any type of a furnace or boiler that runs on electricity, 60 amps is not going to be adequate. Okay. We would need probably at least 100 amps. So basically what we would need to do is find out from your electrician how much we can get back there. Okay. Some local utilities will allow you to split at 200 to allow for an additional 100 in the back, but some may only allow 60. Okay. So there could be a neighborhood capacity issue that they have to look at the existing transformers to see what can be done. Right. So that's something your electrician and the local utility company would be able to tell you. The local electrical utility would be able to inform you. Right. Okay. So the number one question we have right now is how much we can get to that garden suite. Right. But the great news is that you have 200, so I think there's some flexibility there. Yeah. Good. Do you have any questions with regards to electrical?
Yeah. Do you ever see the initial unit here, the duplex, being 200 amp plus for say a pony panel to the garage in addition to that, or is it all just based off of the capacity of that 200 amp service?
Yeah. So it's not going to be a pony panel or a sub panel. Typically, we have the main 200, and then there's going to be another off of that main wire that supports the 200. We're going to have another wire that can either support a 60 or 100 amp, and then there's going to be a meter at that garden suite.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be a separate meter there. Okay, that's what we want as well, just to obviously, have whoever's living there, a tenant occupant, pay for their utilities.
Yep.
Right. And it's easier from an admin perspective, but then of course the big thing is they pay for what they use. Okay. So that's really what we want for all utilities, as much as possible. Okay. So that covers electrical. So again, the 200 amp is good news. And obviously this is something we're going to have to find out from the electrician. All right. Yep. Okay, so water. So here, right beside, we have the water meter, and we can see the water line coming in. So we have the the water line. You can see that it's a black plastic pipe, right? So that tells me that it's a newer line. I don't know the age of this house. I'm guessing probably 60s or 70s when it was built. Yep. 70s? Okay. Yeah, so I mean that probably would have been replaced. Who knows? I mean that could be original. That looks like a 3/4 inch plastic pipe. Now with a 3/4 inch, we're sort of at the borderline for a duplex, for a 2-unit, right? Depending on the number of dishwashers, hose bibs, and laundries. We're sort of at the borderline with 3/4. Usually we're able to make it work with 3/4 for 2 units, but 3/4 is definitely not going to be enough for 3 units. Okay, so if we are having the 2-unit here and the garage conversion in the back, we'll need at least 1 inch. Okay, so coming in 1 inch, and we'll have to do the calculations in terms of the fixture units. Municipalities right now are very particular about the water service. So we want to ensure that we comply with them on that. Okay, so we'll have to do the calculations in terms of the number of fixture units, depending on, how many bathrooms there are, how many kitchens, hose bibs, laundry, that sort of stuff. And then that will determine, but I'll tell you right now, we're going to need at least 1 inch for 3 units. And then what you want to do is you want to have separate risers for each of the separate units. And it's up to you. You can have a sub-meter for each unit itself as well, right? So there's multiple ways to do it. We've done videos and blog posts about, how you can separate them. I'm not sure if Muskoka here does allow you to have individual meters for each unit. I'm not, did you find that out? Did you ask them at all?
No. It's something we're investigating now with a couple of our other suites as well. So
right,
we're working on that.
Okay. Yeah, so there's different ways to do it. Ideally, if you can have separate meters and separate accounts, again, then the occupant can deal with their own water bill. But if you can't, there are sub-meter options that you can at least figure out how much they use, and based on that, charge that back to the tenant. Okay, so there are options. Now, what I recommend to people that are considering a garden suite or a garage conversion down the road, but they may not necessarily be have that in the plans right now, is to have the provision for that. So a rough-in. So for example, if let's say all I'm doing right now is a basement suite, and I'm gutting the place, or it's going to be a brand new reno, this is the time where you want to feed extra rough-in pipes so that you don't have to rip out your ceiling later on if you're doing that garden suite, even if you're doing that garden suite like 2 years from now, right? And so that's something to consider. In your case here, it doesn't really matter because you already have the 2 units. You're going to have to do that third pipe, okay? So you have a 1 inch coming from outside, and then you want to have a 3/4 inch going towards that garden suite, okay? So of course, we're going to have to trench it out and connect that. So at some point, you're going to have to bring it 4 feet below grade at least, so that you don't have any frost issues or freezing issues. And so it's going to be like a 3/4 inch plastic pipe that goes directly to the garage, okay? Excellent. In terms of the drains, we have a 4-inch ABS pipe here, and this is the drains. So this is another thing that we have to confirm with the municipality, whether they will allow us to essentially connect off of this here, or if they want us to do a Y connection in the front of the house, okay? That's something that we're probably asking them as well, and something that we're going to have that discussion with the city on as well, okay? And so depending on that, you might have to dig a trench from here towards the garage, or it's going to be somewhere along that front driveway, and you're going to do that Y connection in the front, at the front lawn. Okay. Yep. Okay, so that covers drains and plumbing at a high level. Do you have any questions about that? Nope. Yeah? Okay. So we talked about electrical, we talked about water, plumbing, and drains. So the next thing is the last utility we want to consider is gas, right, for heating. And as I mentioned, the type of heating system that you're going to use depends on how much electrical capacity that goes out there. Now, if your intention is just to go gas, then it's not even relevant. You just get your gas line out there. And later on, when we're outside, we can have a look at the gas meter. So that's where you would actually connect off of, would be the outside gas meter. You can have a separate meter, or you can actually just keep the same meter and just do a split. Okay. Obviously, right now here you have a boiler system that is heating the both units. And boilers are great. A lot of people aren't used to boilers, but they're good for 2 units because you actually don't have the duct system that, creates, more of a fire hazard potentially. Yep. And then also there isn't the noise, right? So, I always recommend people, if they have a boiler system, to keep it. And, you can have very high efficient boilers. They're a little bit more maintenance, they're a little bit more expensive, but, if you already have that infrastructure, I definitely recommend keeping that. Okay, so this obviously here is the water heater. We're probably not going to have something of this size in the garage just because of space. Yep. So we're probably going to have a combination water heater that potentially does both heating and the potable water that's required for that unit.
Perfect.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, so everything else here looks nice. It's nice that everything is kind of all in one so that we're able to kind of get to the major things. There's really nothing else in the basement here that is going to be a concern for the garden suite.
To learn more about the Max Suite strategy, download our free guides at suiteadditions.com and get started. And if you enjoyed this video, here's another great one for you.